Are you ready for the next step in your career? Do you feel like you're in a place where you're seeking guidance, but not getting it? Are you leading a team that just isn't listening and you're not getting the results you need? Is it time for you to sharpen your leadership skills? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the What Do You Stand For podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the What Do You Stand For podcast, the place where emerging leaders in hospitality come to be informed, inspired, and transformed. My name is Arthur Keith, and I am the host of this podcast, and I'm thrilled to be here today to talk about one of my favorite leaders of all times. And without a doubt, as we roll into 2021, January is the month that we as a nation come together and we celebrate the life and achievements of Dr. Martin Luther King. And so today I want to fly solo. I'm here by myself, not with the squad, because this is one that's very personal to me and it's something I'm really, really passionate about. So I've chosen today to speak to you solo, as I said, and talk about leadership from the perspective of Dr. King and from the perspective of MLK Day. So today we're here to celebrate Martin Luther King Day 2021. And really, the information I'm going to share with you, the origin story behind this is one where actually a few years ago now, I was approached by, believe it or not, a minister who had been introduced to me. I was new to the area. He had heard about me. And he came to my hotel, made an appointment, and he said, Arthur, I want you to come and share your story with our congregation at our MLK Day breakfast. And when he made that ask, it kind of hit me because, quite frankly, I had never, ever thought of that I'd have the opportunity to do that. Certainly in my life, Dr. King and his I had a dream speech. It's been something that's moved me and it has inspired me. But it may sound kind of corny, but I really never dreamt that I'd have an opportunity to speak to someone on that day. And after getting over the initial kind of shock of the offer and hearing the minister share with me how he thought my life story was one that could absolutely inspire people of color, Black, brown, or marginalized people who weren't necessarily, who hadn't had the opportunities that many others had had. And he thought that I could inspire them and that my life story and my career would be an inspiration to me, to them. And what he reminded me of is the fact that, I've been blessed throughout my career and I've had some roles that others have not had before me, quite frankly. And that few in this day still have. There is without a doubt a shortage of Black and brown general managers still in our industry. So to have the opportunity to inspire others to perhaps do what I did was something that I found exciting. And what resonated from my conversation with him was the phrase, "It's possible. It's possible." And what he really drove home to me was, Arthur, you need to get out there and tell people that the journey that you took it's possible. You did it and they can do it. So really, this podcast is titled It's Possible. So, and it's possible. And we're going to share this podcast in the season of the MLK celebration. So today I really want to talk to you about, this, it's possible, and really during the season of MLK celebration, really challenge you to embrace the concept as leaders that, as leaders, great leaders don't see challenges, they see possibilities, and they come at things from the perspective of it's possible. And if you think about Dr. King and his life and what he stood for and his words and his messages, he was all about the possibility of our country changing. And he was all about the possibility of people of color having opportunities that up until that point had not been afforded to them. He was all about the possibility of people of color and people white, brown, yellow, whatever, being treated as equals. And, his I Had a Dream speech, without a doubt, was all about the possibilities. It was, a great example of a leader doing something that, we talk about in our four pillars, and that's, thinking big, having a vision and sharing that inspiring vision. His words of, I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, which perhaps here in 2020, we hear those words and they don't have the power that they had when he shared them. But if you put yourself back in that time, in that day, and those words and what they meant and what those words meant needed to change, it was absolutely a visionary speech. It was an inspiring speech that really led our nation to change, led individuals to change. And quite frankly, they were words that resonated with me as I was growing up. I was without a doubt blessed to have grown up in a family. I'm actually sharing for those of you that can see this, or those of you who are watching the video, you can see, I'm not going to tell you which one is me, but I am the best dressed one in this photo of four. It's myself, my two younger brothers, and my older sister. We grew up blue collar family. I guess I would say blue collar family, and I'll explain more why in a second. Blue collar family in a small town in upstate New York. We grew up, frankly, travel and staying in hotels and flying wasn't something that we did. Vacation for us was being thrown in the back seat of the family station wagon, driving 12 hours down to visit family in Kentucky, and I mean talking rural, backwoods Kentucky. Staying in a cousin's bedroom, sharing a room with them, and enjoying good home cooked meals, but not dining out in restaurants. And then even while we were home in Elmira, going out to a restaurant was something we did once a year, and that was a special occasion. That was truly a special occasion. Flying, we never flew as a family. Never flew as a family. So travel, dining, hotels, that wasn't the experience that I knew growing up. It wasn't an experience that my family knew growing up. So the fact that I ended up on a career path that opened up the world of hospitality to me to this day still kind of floors me, and I think it's a reminder to me of the things that are possible. Where you start at and the things that growing up are not necessarily the limitations you need to place on your life or your career, because the possibilities, I believe, are truly out there if you go after them. And those possibilities for me led me to roles that I never imagined growing up. And they included roles running some of the largest hotels in the world, including in that list is, Gaylord Opryland in Nashville, Tennessee. That's an over 3,000 room hotel, almost 1 million square feet of convention space, 2 riverboat operations that we did dinner theater on, a golf course, a country western nightclub downtown, over $300 million a year operation in terms of revenue. And it was a hotel when I walked in there as general manager. And I think this talks to the progress that we as a country have made since Dr. King's day. When I walked in there as general manager, that hotel was just about 10 years removed from the days when there were no people of color at all working behind the front desk. When I walked in there, a black GM, that was significant progress for that hotel. And it was, I think, a kind of reflection of progress that has been made in this country, but without a doubt, we still have progress to make. So I'll never forget when I moved to Nashville, I had a cousin that had lived there for 15 years prior to me getting there. And he helped me really understand the impact of me in that role. And he never thought it was possible that someone like me or like us, that looked like us, could be in that role, given what he knew about Nashville. So, also included in my career path was, the president role of the Stratosphere, which is a casino in Las Vegas located on the Strip. I wasn't the first Black president, but I absolutely guarantee you there's been less than 5 Black presidents in Las Vegas of Strip level properties. So having come, once again from a growing up where we never dined out, never traveled, and then ended up in Las Vegas, arguably the biggest hotel market in the world and president of one of the strip level casinos. That's really pushing the possibilities. And my final Las Vegas property was general manager of the Cosmopolitan, which is a $4 billion resort. Absolutely one of the premier properties in the city, one of the premier properties in the world, a luxury resort. We like to believe that what we created there was the world's largest boutique hotel, 5-star, 5-diamond level service. So I never thought that I'd end up there. And I'm amazed to this day of what's possible if you attack things from the perspective of, anything's possible. Anything's possible. And, my career also included in running the largest indoor water park in the United States at Kalahari as general manager. And now today I have a teaching role and a general manager role at Cornell University and the world's premier School of Hotel Administration, where I'm teaching the next generation hospitality leaders. So imagine that. Here I am, a person of color in this role, sharing what I've learned with future leaders in the premier leadership development school in the world. I think I can say that without sounding too biased. So, the possibilities are endless. And what really led me to have a mindset where everything was possible, and to have a mindset where I wasn't going to allow others to tell me what I could and couldn't do. That was the blessing of my father. And my father, in this picture that I'm sharing now, kind of depicts him in the late 1960s. He was one of 2 Black police officers that were hired by the police department in Elmira, New York. It was 2 out of 120, and they were the first 2 Black police officers on that force. And they were hired after the civil rights protests that happened across the country, where cities and law departments were challenged to go hire people of color to join their force. And my dad was someone who took on that challenge and joined the Elmira Police Force as one of their 2 Black officers. And I'll never forget the impression that left upon me. And, he never saw himself as a Black police officer. He saw himself as a police officer. He saw himself as a law enforcement officer, and he went about being the best officer that he could be. And he didn't allow others to limit his thinking on what was possible for him. He even ran for sheriff of Simone County twice as I was growing up. So without a doubt, I had someone really instrumental in my early years who helped mold my thinking when it came to anything's possible if you go after it, and to make sure you don't allow others to pigeonhole what's possible for you. So, embracing what's possible is key. And I love the fact that as, this month, as we celebrate Dr. King and what he did, he was all about the possibilities. And I want to challenge each and every one of you as a leader to embrace the belief that anything is possible, that it's possible. So, Dr. King's, let's say, most famous speech was his "I Have a Dream" speech. I want to challenge each and every one of you to dare to dream and to believe. I've talked to some people who have questioned if MLK Day is still relevant today, and I am a huge believer, without a doubt, given the year that we just had. MLK Day is absolutely still relevant today, and it is a time for us as a country to remember the progress that's been made thus far, but without a doubt, look forward to the future and the work that's still left to be done. So let's dare to dream that, yes, Black lives do matter, Black lives will matter, and that we will move forward from the year that we just had. And 21 will be a better year than 20. So as leaders, it is absolutely, I believe, critical that you embrace the type of thinking that Dr. King had and that he stood for. And he wasn't afraid to dream and believe that this world could evolve into something greater and better than what it was. And, as a leader, that's really what our challenge is to go out there and dream and to create a different reality, be it how we as a nation are treated as individuals, and how the races in our country are getting along or not getting along, or it could simply be how your department's running. It's but not being afraid to dream that you can create something different, as well as being willing to put yourself out there with a compelling a message, and then believing that it's possible, and then going after it from a mindset that it's possible. That those are keys to really creating and leading in today's world. I like to sum up that thinking and that mindset, and we in the four pillars that we here at the What Do You Stand For podcast have talked about on a regular basis. The first of the four pillars is think big. Think big. Think big, without a doubt, is believing that things are possible, striving for excellence, having a vision, and having a vision that's going to inspire others, and then leading in such a way that you're constantly going back to those big thoughts, big ideals that are going to inspire and encourage others to kind of come alongside you. No one wants to be part of a team that's doing small things or not striving for greatness or striving for excellence. We are definitely living in a country where people want to feel like they're part of a winning team, part of a winning formula. And people are inspired by a compelling vision. So thinking big and being able to convey that and communicate that to your team. That was a career lesson that I learned, career lesson that I've embraced. And it's one that I continue to share because I think it's powerful and that it's critical to be an effective leader in today's world. So think big, act small is the second pillar, and acting small is all about relationships. If you think about, and it's about being humble. It's about having a servant's heart. I love Dr. King in that, as a minister, he was absolutely one who was accustomed to serving others, and he had a servant heart. And he was a humble man. He was a humble man with a big vision and a powerful, inspiring voice, which I think is an unbelievable combination. He thought big, he dreamt, but he was humble and he loved to serve others. So think big and then act small. Or two of the four pillars. The third pillar is fail fast. Fail fast. You're going to make some mistakes. Things aren't always going to go the way that you want. And, think about Dr. King. There was a man who had a vision, who's leading a movement, and think about it. He was arrested, I don't know how many times. I think about what we go through as leaders, and when we fail or we hit a brick wall or things don't go the way that we want. And, that's one level of failure, and that's one level of things that you need to fight through. Could you imagine dealing with having been arrested? I'm sure there are times when he felt like giving up, but he didn't. And that's really what fail fast is about. If things don't go the way that you wanted them to go, you deal with it, then move forward and forget about it. Which is, you don't stay stuck and I failed. You don't stay stuck and it didn't go the way I wanted. As I'm sure Dr. King didn't stay stuck and I just got arrested, or they just, canceled our march or canceled our demonstration, or, we have all these obstacles. We have all these people who are against us. He stayed on his path and continued to pursue what he thought was right. That's fail fast. Fail fast on a level that I think few of us will ever experience, but I think it's a great example of the power of failing fast. And he took it to the level of he was willing to die for what he believed for. And, we're here celebrating him this month because of his work and because of the tragic ending of his life. So think big, act small, fail fast. And the fourth pillar is teach. I love Dr. King as a minister. He was absolutely a teacher. He inspired many with his words, inspired many with his actions. He was a well-educated man who read, and shared his beliefs, and he shared his philosophies, and great leaders do that. So as we this month celebrate Dr. King, let's not forget that he was a great teacher. Let's also not forget as great leaders, we have to teach. And, I look at why I was able to do the things that I was able to do as a leader. And I can say without a doubt, I was able to push the possibilities in my career because absolutely I embrace think big, act small, fail fast, and teach on the levels that I could in my career. And I just will continuously challenge each and every one of you as a leader to do those same things. So think big, act small, fail fast, and teach. All lessons that I learned along the way as my eyes were open to the possibilities. I never thought I'd end up in Las Vegas. Along the way, I never thought I'd end up in some of the big cities that I ended up in, but what was interesting though was at each step along the way, my eyes were open to greater possibilities. And I think I was able to not be overwhelmed by those possibilities because I carried within me a belief that I was good enough. I had what it took. And it was possible. It may sound kind of overly simple, but I do believe if you go through life embracing why not as a simple mantra, why not? It's possible. If you embrace a simple philosophy of why not me? Why not now? That's better than certainly not now, not me. I don't have it. I can't. So embrace the possibilities. Without a doubt, embrace the possibilities. At this month, as we think about and reflect upon and honor and celebrate the life and work of Dr. King, I want to challenge each and every one of you to think about our country and where it's at, the year that we just had, the turmoil, the strife, the different perspectives, the protests, the riots. And let's think about it from the perspective of I want to call them our founding leaders, not our founding fathers, because within the founding of this country, there were women as well that played significant roles. But our founding leaders really, when in the early days of our country, were seeking to create a new country and a new government, there was something that was very critical and very important to them that I want to challenge each and every one of us to remember and embrace, and what our founding leaders really embedded into the foundation of our country was the concept of tolerance. We were a country founded on the belief that everyone's welcome and that political tolerance and that other points of view would be accepted, and we would be tolerant of each other's political points of views, religious points of views, where they were from. Because if you think about the birth of our country, it was a lot of people leaving other countries because they were being persecuted, and they were in environments where others were intolerant of their beliefs of who they are, who they were. And so our country was founded on this belief of political tolerance, and just as a whole on the concept of tolerance. And what really tears me apart, and I think it's something for us to come back to during this month, as once again we celebrate Dr. King, is the fact that we're a country founded in the concept of tolerance, but we've become very intolerant of other people's perspectives or other people's viewpoints or other people's beliefs. And so much of what's going on in our country is because of that inflexibility, that rigidness when it comes to our willingness to be open to hearing and considering and listening to a different point of view, or in essence, us being intolerant. You know, a while back in the media, there was a picture that was posted of two people, and both in their own ways, two very famous people, and they were celebrities in their own right with their own following. One being former President Bush, and the other being Ellen. And they were photographed attending, I believe it was a football game. It's two people sitting side by side in what looks like a suite, enjoying some popcorn, having a couple laughs, and just enjoying each other's company. And they just look quite content hanging out next to one another. But if you think about those two individuals and what they stand for and what their beliefs are, they are two very different people in their beliefs. They're just two very different people. I'm ultra conservative, ultra liberal. All right. So I don't think if we were going to list two people that we thought would be buddy next to one another at a football game, that they would be anywhere near the top 1,000 people on that list. But here they are hanging out together at a football game, and they received, and this picture went viral. And what blew me away was the amount of grief that both of them got for hanging out with someone who had a different point of view than theirs. And those people that knew them and believed that they knew what, you know, former President Bush and Ellen stood for, just thought it was wrong that they were seen published together or photographed together. And I love the response that those who get it had to that uproar around the two of them being seen together and photographed together. And I loved Ellen's response to it. And her response was, and I think that we've forgotten that it's okay for us to have different points of view. We're all different. We're all different. And I want to challenge each and every one of you to embrace the fact that we're all different. And there's a huge power in our differences. You know, you think as the people that we lead and what everyone brings to the table, and it's in our differences, that's where there's a strength, that there's a power. So great leaders embrace differences. Great leaders are absolutely tolerant of different points of view and welcome different points of view. And I just hope and believe that 21 will be a year where we continue to see progress made towards embracing the concept of tolerance in other points of views, tolerance in other perspectives, and us embracing, hey, it's cool to be around others that are different than us. It's cool to be around others that have a different perspective than us. And there's a power in us embracing those and being open to those and learning from those. So I just challenge each and every one of you to embrace differences and understand that as leaders, that's the power of our teams. Black, brown, white, male, female, straight, gay, lesbian. Let's embrace all those differences. You know, and I want to leave you with some words from Dr. King, which I think as we sit back and really embrace the power of, we're all different and embracing our differences. You know, Dr. King said, and when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, Black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. And I challenge you to embrace differences because there is freedom as Dr. King is saying, there is freedom in embracing differences. So as you go out there today, as you consider this podcast, I hope that you will make a difference and that you will embrace differences and that you will move forward with a level of tolerance to other points of view where you will be welcoming and bring them in and use them and use the power of them. So that's my point of view on Dr. King and this month and leadership and the What Do You Stand For podcast. I hope you will stand for more than just making a dollar as you lead in business. I hope you will stand for change. I hope you will stand for making a difference. And I hope you will stand for making a difference as we celebrate Dr. King during this month. So, thank you for joining us on this podcast. Dr. King, without a doubt, is one of my favorite leaders, and his life, unbelievable, the impact that he's had on our world. And I think, what he stood for should not be forgotten during these times. As a matter of fact, I think we should be embracing him. And let's move forward, embracing the differences that we have in this unbelievable country of ours. And if some of you out there have some thoughts about what we could do differently on the What Do You Stand For podcast, if you have some questions, if you have some thoughts for what we should cover on a future episode, please, without a doubt, reach out to me at arthurkeith.com. Go to the social page, drop me a line, share your thoughts. Definitely want to hear what's on your mind. We want to continue to make this podcast a useful podcast, one that can impact others. So really, really appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. And once again, enjoy your MLK Day and have a great evening. Thank you.
Look for us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Find the links on arthurkeith.com. What do you stand for?